Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Ben here inside of my academy here in California. I'm here with Jim from Jiu-Jitsu Mag. If you hear any music or people training, it's because my academy is open for noon classes again.
Suki, we're back now. We're getting there. All right. So, yeah, congratulations to you on that, too, Ben, because, I was unexpected. I walked into the studio. I saw people working out. It brought warmth to my heart because, at the very least, it signifies and it represents academies could probably now be more open, be a bit more public about it, and if they're not. And it represents, for progress. So, and an opportunity to make money and pay those bills.
Yeah, I have a very generous landlord, and, I'm very loyal when it comes to people who show me loyalty first. So even though I've had opportunities to move out of here for much cheaper rent, I'm never going to leave. The only way I would leave is if I could find a new tenant for my landlord. So anyway, we're going to make it work, and Jiu-Jitsu's back, and hopefully it's not just Texas and Florida. Hopefully,
right.
California. I think California, people know what's up, right? Like we're not really, like, people are listening maybe from other states that are more open, other countries that. No, I don't think countries are open. I think USA might be the most open.
Yeah.
People from other states, right? You might think California is just, a bunch of crazy lunatics that are hiding in their house. We try to make it work, man. We've been, I wouldn't say open the whole time, but we've been training in pods and training outdoors. We've been doing what we can, and it is, happy to see that there's 5 students in class.
Yeah, right on.
Good stuff.
Right on. So congratulations on that, Ben.
Thank you.
Being able to, just move forward. So it's got to have you feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, I would say I'm confident in the optimistic outlook of combat sports and jiu-jitsu.
So yeah, and that was kind of a feeble attempt at the setup of today's
Yes.
episode, but. Earlier on your Instagram post, so Coach BZ on Instagram, where you see Coach just kind of post some of these ideas, thoughts, and musings throughout his day, week, and all that. And there's one in particular. His latest one is about confidence, and you have some thoughts about that. And confidence is very important. I mean, if you talk to any kind of, sports psychologist of a pro fighter, that's kind of their role, to make sure that their athlete is optimally sound mentally. And part of that, and I would say the cornerstone of that concept, is to build that athlete's confidence.
Right. Thank you, Jim. So I've trained athletes for 15 years, at least. And I've trained all kinds of athletes, high level, lower level, amateur, professional, and we're always trying to manage confidence, right? And it's not just about athletes. This podcast isn't about the greatest people in the world, and what they do. It's really about the average person. It's really about how the average person can take the steps to greatness in whatever that is in their own life, right? And confidence is one of these things that gives us anxiety, right? How it relates to jiu-jitsu is, so let's just talk about a normal person training jiu-jitsu, right? If you're not a big competitor, a lot of your confidence in jiu-jitsu comes from training, live sparring, right? You may have a good day of sparring and you have high confidence, like, I did really good today. And then you'll have a day where you'll have, maybe you get tapped by a blue belt or a purple belt and you're a brown belt, and you think, well, I suck, and your confidence fluxes, right? This is the state that we live in, right? This is just how society teaches us, our value, our confidence. And so I've been, obviously, if you look at my Instagram recently, I've been studying a lot of Eastern philosophy. I've been, just spending a lot of time alone, thinking about these things and where these things arise from, and how we can have consistent confidence is really what I want to talk about today. And the tweet that I made on my it's actually a tweet from my Twitter, but I like to post them on my Instagram because that has the biggest audience. And the tweet basically just says that confidence comes from the results that we get, right? That's really, if you think about it, right? If you say, hey, confidence comes from whether you win or you lose, most people will agree, right? They'll say, oh, that's about right. That's how society views confidence. But my idea is that viewed in this way, if you view confidence in this way, right, you will always be at the mercy of results, right? And you cannot control results for the most part. You can only control, the preparation you put into the activity or the art or the competition, right? So if you're basically, putting too many eggs into the same basket when you rely on results being confidence, right? The last jiu-jitsu match that I ever had, I still compete. I still try to compete. But the last competition I had, I think, like 4 submissions wins. And then the last match I got submitted. I lost by submission to a brown belt, at Naga. And this guy was very good. He killed me. But that would not be good for my confidence if I valued, results, right? If I said, oh, the last match of the day, we were literally we were like rolling the mats up, and I could not beat this guy, but should I let that diminish my confidence? No, it's just one thing, the guy was better than me, and I have no excuses. I lost. What I can control though is my reaction to it, and I can control something else, right? Which is my preparation next time, right? And what I want to say is that consistent confidence really comes from knowing that you have control, knowing that you have access to whatever needs to be accessed at the right time that it needs to be accessed, right? So I watched my student Brianne compete at Subversive this weekend, right? And in my head, I thought, oh man,
the new fight to win purple belt champion,
brown belt champion.
She's
a purple belt, but she's brown belt champion.
Oh, okay.
And I thought in my head, I was like, oh no, like I don't know if she's going to have the confidence to beat, the number 5 ranked pound for pound girl in the world, Natalie Ribeiro. I didn't know if she could beat, Amanda Levy, who was the 2019 80cc trials champion. She beat Amanda, and it was incredible. And I thought, wow, how did she have the confidence to do that? Like how, I'm not a competitor by heart, so I'm too based in reality. I'm just like, oh, these people are out of my realm, right? So the confidence that I saw in her was that she had known that she could hang. There was something in her where she knew she could access the knowledge and the skill that she had at the right time. And after the match, I could sense, she's ready. Like she could compete at the world-class level in the female, weight division, any weight division actually. And that was because of her ability to access the things she needed to access. Like when there was a time in the match when she got her guard passed and the girl was in north-south, right? And I knew that she knew how to get out of there, that she had access to that skill. So that's the confidence, it's the access to the skill. I didn't really care if she won or not. The result is really the external validation, and it can bolster your confidence, right? It always does. You can't just say it doesn't exist, right? The result, you can't go 0 and 50 and then be ultra confident walking into the, you got to keep it real, right? But what I'm saying is that confidence starts from within. If you have no confidence and you hope to get to the competition, or you hope that in your training session you're going to gain confidence by beating people, that's never going to last. You will never have true, consistent confidence. And that's really the thing I want to talk about. The thing I want to riff about is that.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's funny that you say you want to riff about it because, man, the way you just put it, I'm crunching that, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty accurate. And I'm in my head as you're saying that, I'm drilling down. Yeah, and you know me. Sometimes you think I'm just being objective to your points of views, contrarian to your points of views.
And I like that because that helps me understand.
It's healthy, right? I think that is the value of when we discuss, and sometimes off of the camera, just in our own free discussions. But I'm just kind of crunching the information. What you're saying, I'm like, yeah, you're right. And you nailed it, because I was getting there, and then you hit the note.
Well, what happens when you hear the truth, right, is it just hits you differently.
Right.
There's no when you get to the source of something, you kind of get speechless because you're like, well, that's the source.
Yeah.
And I've thought about this for a long time, and I can't think of another source of consistent confidence, right?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so with that, I think in a little bit of my own words of what you're saying and what I think you're saying, the way I'm digesting it is that, your confidence shouldn't, whether it does or doesn't is not the discussion, but it shouldn't be predicated off of one single end result at any given time. It's almost like a body of work here.
Right.
And if you have that approach, because I could totally see, and this would be like the prime example of this notion is in a scientific environment where scientists using the scientific method, they tend to not get discouraged or have any lack of confidence on a failure of an experiment. Right. And on the contrary, it's almost like in the failure, there's a revelation. There's always a revelation. And when you keep finding revelations through failures, sure, that W may come sooner or later or may not, because maybe that's passed on to the next scientist to build from. But the confidence, like you could have a scientist say, no, I'm the business because I showed you all the ways something won't work.
You just hit something very, very important, Jim, and that was it. That I think practicality and tangible things are what's important, right? Not abstract things that you can't control and can only harm you and it can only give you anxiety. What you just described is something that's fully in your control. If I know the ways that things don't work, I don't even want to use the word should. There's no should. It's more about like I understand that I understand all the ways that don't. If I understand 100 ways that don't work, right? That's 100 less ways for me to fuck it up
again, right, in the future.
And that's confidence. That the understanding of that translates to confidence.
So your confidence,
right?
Like at the famous story, I think I've quoted it one time where Thomas Edison, in inventing the light bulb, he discovered how to build a light bulb and replicate it on his 101st try. Mm-hmm. And when asked about, well, how did you feel about the 100 other times? And then he says, did you ever get discouraged? He said, no. Right. I learned how it won't work. Take
that and use a jiu-jitsu example, right? So that's a great example. There was a guy when I was training in Los Angeles at Sean Williams Academy. I forgot this guy's name, but he was a slightly bigger than me purple belt, and I was a blue belt at the time. And, man, I couldn't beat this guy. Like, no matter what, I couldn't. Like, he would just beat me. He was just like 2 steps ahead of me in every manner, and he was stronger than me. So eventually I was just like, I just need to start on your back. That was our agreement. And we, eventually I did catch up to him, but it doesn't matter. I'm just illustrating this example because I did not understand this idea back then, but something deep down inside me already had an inkling for it. So I could not articulate what I just articulated to you guys now, but something in me had an inkling that this was the truth. So I remember that I wouldn't get discouraged. Just like you said, I would show up to class every day, and he was like always my partner. We were stuck together, but I would just every day I would just tell myself, okay, these are the ways that will not work against. I think his name was Eddie. His name's Eddie. Against Eddie, it will not work against Eddie. If I do this against Eddie, he will beat me. So that was the only thing I control, right? I was 0-50 against this guy in like 100 rolls. I was 0-100 probably. Maybe I had some stalemates with him, but every time I was training like 3 days a week. That time, every time I sparred with this guy, I just found new ways on how not to do certain things, and that was the confidence. I could always access that because I could always access, I'm about to, no, don't do it because last time you got submitted. Don't do it because you got submitted. That's something I control. You know what I can't control? Can't control beating him every training session. So if my confidence is based off of beating him every training session or beating him even once, it's never going to happen. It never happened. I think like on my last month or something at the academy, I might have submitted him with a Kimura or something. Like it was just like, it took years to even get there, right? But my confidence never went down.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the perfect discussion to have in the jiu-jitsu community because the confidence is in the process.
Yes.
In the process. And knowing that, valuing the failures and stuff. We say it, but I don't think a lot of people realize
But we get discouraged by wins and losses, by gym, wins and losses.
Yeah, and it's actually it's kind of an unacceptable trait. It's like it's almost arrogant. It's
ego.
like, well, yeah, exactly. It's ego because who are you to think that you could just walk in and be some world beater in this world of jiu-jitsu? Because think of this, and a lot of people don't even realize what you're saying is true as far as the process and how it relates to confidence. Because you and I'm sure everyone else's story, when you're a white belt, are you submitting people more or are you getting submitted? Chances are always getting submitted. And even as a blue belt, it's like, I know for me, I wanted to match up with the guys who were going to just pummel me. Remember me, Sean?
Yeah.
It's almost like mandatory. Every time he was in the room, that big dude is going to smash on me. He's going to beat my ass. But the next day I showed up and, Michon, you want to roll? Yeah, let's go. Proceed to get smashed. So even without acknowledging it or realizing it, that's the chase. That's the confidence. It's like, I'm not discouraged. It's like, that's what I want to this thing that I'm building. And okay, we get to a point, cool. And I did that with other higher belts and people that I always seeked out the superior guys to train with. But then once I got to the point, okay, cool, I'm tapping them out. Well, congratulations, because now there's another group that's going to tap you out again. So what would that do to your confidence if it was predicated on those false victories?
We already know this. This is why we already know this, like as in we're somehow special because we know. Every human, I think, knows the truth.
Yes.
So when you hear the truth, you're like, well, shit. Now I can actually articulate what I've been trying to feel the whole time.
That's what this conversation is. Yeah.
This is what it is. Because we've never had these conversations with ourselves. We just confidence. That's what. Okay, I win. I'm confident. I'm good at this, so I'm confident. I'm bad at that, so I don't do it. This is it's just standard ego. It's society's way of teaching us how things work, and it's backwards.
And ironically, if you have too much of that, it will actually serve as a barrier towards true confidence.
You mean like
too much ego, too much ego, like only looking at, I'm good at this, so I'm going to do that because it makes me feel confident. I'm confident in this.
That's the people that are truly lost are the people that only do the things in which they know they can win.
Exactly.
And that is, even look at people like Jordan, right? Michael Jordan. He was the greatest basketball player, right?
He took L's.
He would do other things and take major L's, right? He would go and he would get his butt kicked playing golf. He'd gamble,
That's
lose.
losses. L's. That means losses, if L's, in case.
I hope people know that. But that's so like you could argue that Jordan is the biggest winner of all time, as far as whatever. But as far as sports, just traditional sports. But look at the way. Where did his confidence come from? I don't think his confidence came from his winnings. His confidence came from
the process,
something inside. It's an intangible. It's something that he knew he had access to.
His relentless desire to be a part of that process.
Right. If your confidence is related or correlated directly to the result, then let's just use Jordan again. The first shot he misses, that will send him the first buzzer beater he misses, right? That his confidence on the next one will be lower. So what if he misses another one? Then he'll never make one again, right? So that's why the guy could miss. I remember this commercial where it talked about his stats, and he missed more buzzer beaters than he made, right, in his career. But he still made like 30. It was a crazy number. How could you make 30 and miss 50 if you relied on the outcome, right? How is that possible? You can't, because the second you miss 3 in a row, it's over.
Shattered.
You're shattered.
Your world's done. Yeah.
And people out there in society, they're living life like this. They're not even. You don't have to be a competitor. You don't even have to do jiu-jitsu. It's more about just how you view your self-image, your confidence level of yourself, right? And I try to have peace. That's what I'm looking for is peace. And when you view confidence in a way of wins and losses, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, it's always in flux, right? Today you did good, tomorrow you did bad. You did good, you feel good. You did bad, you feel sad. I don't want to live like that, man. And that's how we all live. We got to get rid of that. So in order to have peace, you just don't care about it's not that you don't care. It's more about the wins and losses.
Adjust the expectations.
Are byproducts.
Yeah, adjust the expectations of those byproducts.
Right. They are
Understand.
external. You have to understand that the wins and losses are external, and your confidence comes from internal.
Bam.
So you can't draw confidence from the external, maybe forever, but you may be able to get a little confidence, right? If I go to the Worlds and I smash everybody, I'm pretty confident. Let's not lie to ourselves. If I go to the Worlds and I beat Kind and Duarte, right? Never gonna happen. But if I did, I'm going to the next tournament, feeling super confident. But what if he had a bad breakfast that day and he showed up, very subpar, and I judged him on his worst behavior, but I thought I beat the best guy in the world. And the next tournament I enter, right, I go in riding this confidence, but what I did, and then I get smoked. I get smoked by the number 50 guy. And then I'm just like, well, last week I beat Kind, and I can't, I must suck. I must be fake. I must not be good. And that could kill your career. I've seen that exact thing destroy athletes.
I mean, yeah, look at it. It almost destroyed Rocky in Rocky 3.
I never watched Rocky 3. I stopped at 2, I think.
Oh, shame on you. Should have
I
stopped
watched
at
5.
3.
I watched 5.
Oh, shame on you. Well, anyways, but
Okay.
but in all seriousness, it's
His confidence was shattered.
well, yeah.
How did he rebuild it?
So that was going to be my next question to you. So hold that thought.
Yeah.
But the movie, spoiler alert. I mean, since the movie was released in 1984 or 83.
Spoiler alert, Rocky 3.
Right.
Here we go.
So basically, he fought the hungry and up and coming Clubber Lang, right? And Clubber Lang.
I've seen pieces of this movie.
Destroyed him.
Yes.
And
I saw that part, actually.
Okay.
I saw the beginning of that movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the beginning explains it all because there's this montage.
Yeah, he
of
came in ultra confident because he was a winner.
living the good life.
Yeah.
He was living the good life, so he kind of lost that Eye of the Tiger, the theme song of the
I remember
movie.
this very clearly now.
So when Mickey, he's on the tail end of his life, and he confided in Rocky. He's like, I don't want you fighting this guy because he has what you were when you were young and hungry. He has that fire. He's like, you've been fighting these guys that, I mean, they're not bums, but they weren't him.
Yeah,
they weren't
Because
those
Clubber
killers.
probably had the internal confidence, and Rocky had the external confidence
Right.
at that moment.
At
These
that
are
moment,
different,
yeah.
but at
Like
that
you said
moment.
earlier, it fluctuates,
Right.
right? So he was waking up in those satin sheets. So, anyways, he told him this. He's like, I don't want you fighting this guy because, I mean, those guys were good, but they weren't killers. And then once Mickey died, and right before the fight, he gets knocked out, and all of a sudden he's shot. He's the shell of what he was in Rocky 2. Rocky 1, right? And he had to have a talking to that his wife is like, who are you, man? It's like, what's going on?
Right, it's because
like
his confidence is based on
right. So
results.
which brings us to the rebuilding.
Right.
So and I'm going to have you repeat what you just said because I think that really ends the podcast of external and internal. It's the mic dropper moment, and we'll come back to that. I want you to say that again before this podcast ends, but I want you to put on your coaching hat now. You're a coach. You have an athlete that's in that Rocky phase. That's How can people, what are some tangible, executable exercises of daily life, of their approach to training? What are some ways to help people kind of embrace what confidence is? Coach.
Okay, so I have to give a disclaimer here. I never tell people what to do, and I don't tell them what they should do, what they need to do, what they have to do, none of that. Because
Fair.
I can only tell you I'm more like a thing that is giving you the truth or the reality of a situation, right?
Or the data.
Right. I'm giving you the data or what I believe to be the truth or the reality.
There you go.
So I'm not telling people to do any of these things, right? But what I'm more doing is I'm illuminating where the source of the problem is. And if they choose to not listen, it's not about listening, it's about like understanding. If they already had something inside of them that understood a little bit, this could be the turning point, right? This could be the key that opens the door. The door was, half open, and this pushes them through. It could be that, right? That's what I hope to do in coaching is to really not to motivate people or whatever, but is to get out of their way so they can do it themselves. And that's really what coaching is. It's the art of coaching is really making the athlete get out of their own way, right? Because when your desire is pure and you have a clear understanding of your path, that's when things are accomplished, right? As a coach, what I do is I go into the path and I try to clear the path, of the debris and the hazards and things, without letting the athlete know that I'm doing it for them. So this is a very tough subject, Jim, but I will try to answer it in the best way I can.
Well, I think right there is a good answer. I understand.
You understand? Okay.
Clearly.
I like, it's not about rebuilding somebody's confidence. It's more about letting them understand where confidence comes from, and they will rebuild. There's nothing to rebuild.
Because as a coach, that's all you're not a miracle worker.
Right.
It's like, here, listen, as your coach, this is what I see.
Yeah. There's nothing to rebuild, Jim. So with the confidence, it's not one of these things where it's like it takes time. It's if you understand it, you understand it. If you don't understand, if an athlete doesn't have confidence, then they don't understand where confidence arises from. And I don't need to do anything. But if they are to change, then there needs to be a realization, understanding of where that confidence comes from, and that may help them succeed in whatever they want to do, or get better at whatever they want to do, have better results, whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter what it is, because the byproduct really shouldn't even be thought about, right? If you don't take care of the confidence issue first, you never forget about the results. Your results will be poor. I'll tell you that right now. They're all going to be poor. And if you somehow have good results, well, you better pray that those results go infinitely, because the second you have a bad result, it's over. Okay, your confidence will be shot. You'll never win again. It's just how things are, Or you see this in a lot of athletes. They'll make excuses. The excuses will always be external. It'll always be your opponent cheated. The ref screwed you. That something happened. And I see this a lot. I see this in like, for example, Colby Covington, right? You guys watch UFC, you see the guy making excuses about Mark Goddard and the ref and this and that. And look, he lost the match. Just like. I see that, right? And I see that type of behavior, and I'm just like, that's not going to help your confidence for the next fight. What happens when you truly lose next time?
Yeah, and sometimes I just wonder if he's being real, because
that's that also. It might be a show.
It's like, hey, he stopped early. Right, this next time, and
it might be a show, and deep down, I think Colby's actually a good guy.
Yeah,
he deep down, he probably actually understands where the true confidence is, but he's putting on a show. I'm kind of playing along with this character.
Sure. Fair enough.
I'm pretending that he is the character. And so rebuilding the confidence has nothing to do with rebuilding anything. It's about understanding where confidence comes from.
That's a great point.
And there it is. It rebuilds automatically. There's no rebuilding.
So, and that's a great point. That's a great point, because when you look at the body of work of Colby's athletic accomplishments, I think he has a solid understanding of that, and we don't know. It's all speculative.
We don't know. The point you were trying to make, though, Jim, is that how do you rebuild it? And I want to make sure this is clear.
No, that's a great
answer. There's no rebuilding.
It's just a realization of what it is and maybe how to manage it.
I've seen people go from understanding this. I've seen people go from not understanding this to understanding this, and in 1 second they had the change.
Being able to navigate.
That's it.
Oh,
absolutely. It took 1 second.
Absolutely.
It didn't take 10 years or whatever the fuck, people, you got to meditate. No. It took 1 second. But here's the truth, and the caveat, which is difficult for people to grasp, is those people that make that shift in 1 second, It might be 20 minutes for you. It might be 2 years, right? Not everybody can make that shift in 1 second. And the person that makes that shift in 1 second, the people I've seen make that shift in 1 second, you know what they all had? They had an inkling of it their whole life.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would say that the 1 second thing is actually a misnomer because it's a body of work, and
exactly.
that 1 second is the moment they get it.
There was some perfect, just serendipity moment where I was the right vehicle for whatever, telling them this. They had already, they were on the cusp.
They had a body of work.
Boom, and I that's why I don't take credit for these things. That's why you can take all my stuff and just use it on your. I'll never call anybody out for plagiarism. This is not my stuff. This is all stuff that is through me. So that right there, that type of person, if you're listening and you want to make that shift, you can't. If you already had 99% of that shift already done and you just needed that one thing, I may have given that to you. Maybe, but this is a difficult subject because everybody's different.
It's complex. You're dealing with psychology. You're dealing with the mind, and that itself is a career.
I think it's more important to understand what doesn't work. That's why when you brought that up, I was like, that's so important.
So let's recap.
Yeah,
let's wind this down. The external factors. Confidence comes from the outside.
No, it comes from the inside. But we as society generally view confidence from the external results.
So where does it come from?
It comes from within.
It comes from within.
Yeah. It comes from.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
That's I mean, that's like I said, that's the mic dropper. And I want people, I would like if people understood that. And when I say I would like people, I want people, I'm talking to myself.
Right,
well.
exactly. You can never tell people what they can. Right. They'll never listen to you.
Yeah, I don't want to say you need to understand. No, but I just think, like in my experience, to hear this and to really just kind of extrapolate all this information, it's like, man, I think the way it makes me feel to have that kind of understanding, it's like I would assume people would want that kind of enlightenment. I mean, I think everyone should learn jiu-jitsu.
You gotta be careful with this because there's a way to understand, which is going from the inside out, and then there's a way to take a thing that somebody says and force yourself to understand.
Project.
That's not the same.
Yeah,
these are not the same things. So if you say something and I'm like, Jim is living a pretty good life, I'm going to listen to him because I want what he has. That is not going to work.
Yeah, oh my God,
that is not going to work.
Isn't that the big facade?
That is the stupidest.
It's like celebrity endorsements.
Everybody
and stuff.
does this.
Yeah.
Everybody, you cannot.
Oh, that guy makes so much money. He knows.
I'm going to do exactly what he does.
Yeah.
You cannot do this. It has to be from. So that's outside in, right? That's external to internal. It doesn't going to work. Things don't work that way. There are barriers to these. You have to go from internal to. You don't really need to go to external. There's no external. It's all internal.
It's all internal.
So when when let's say you have a good life and I want what you have, right? I already stop. You cannot get inspiration that way, right? You can't stop. It needs to be like this. Jim has confidence in what he does, right? Where does he get that confidence? Is it from the results that he gets? Because he's having good results. So should I copy the results? Should I copy good results? If you do, you'll fail. That's not the correct way. What you need to understand is that your results are a byproduct of your confidence. Your confidence does not come from your results. If people can understand that, I think there will be a lot less flux in their daily anxiety, confidence, these types of things, right? Because you'll know that it doesn't matter what happens externally, right? It really doesn't.
Matters little.
Yeah, you can't. Again, we have to keep it in reality, right? If I'm an Olympic athlete, my goal is to win the Olympics. The result matters, right? But the result, like I said, I'm not going to repeat this anymore. But the confidence builds the result. The result shouldn't give you confidence. The result is the byproduct.
Bam! I'm going to end it right there.
Okay.
I'm going to end it right there because that was key. The result does not create the confidence. The confidence creates the result.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not saying you can't do it the other way.
Sure,
you
sure.
can.
There are no hard lines.
Yeah,
to
there's no
this
hard
stuff.
lines. But get ready for a life of a wavy
dips and valleys.
Yeah, I
well,
don't want
it's
that.
already that, right?
We
It's
already live like
we're-
that.
yeah.
You know, if you're unhappy doing that, then try to understand this.
Yeah. Well, there it is. He's Coach BZ on Instagram, Twitter. You can follow his Instagram because that was the spawn of this conversation. There's a lot of gems on there, a lot of philosophical things that he just throws out there. So at Coach BZ, that's Bravo Zulu, and I'm Jiu-Jitsu Mag.
Yeah, at Jiu-Jitsu Mag. And real quick, I put these philosophical things out. I get a lot of criticism because I'm a jiu-jitsu coach and a performance coach. But I'm going to say this till the day I die. Philosophy takes care of the big problems. Okay, why does everybody gravitate toward philosophy later on in life? Because we're tired of facing the same problems over and over again. What can confidence also be? It can also be jiu-jitsu skill. It could also be how happy you are in your life. It can also be how content you are with your job. Like, these are all things that if you apply this rule, you could improve a lot of things. And so that's philosophy. That's it.
Well, right on. Well, thanks, Coach. This was a good one. I love this one.
Thank you, Jim.
That was really good. And we'll see you guys on the next one.